Beautiful fade, Cassie. Well done. What's happening, everybody? Michael Spur, I see you. Lindsay White. Same as always. As long as you are fully dressed, as always, don't care if you're eating, don't care if you have bedhead. We would love to see faces, beautiful faces, instead of names in black boxes. So if you can turn on your camera, please do so. We have what I think is a pretty amazing treat today with our guest, Mike Zenicola. Mike has a fascinating story, and I think is about to drop a lot of wisdom on us. So, Mike is a real estate agent in Ohio who spent his first 17 years in the industry as a real estate attorney and then decided to shift over and become a realtor. Um, I believe it was tooth, and I'm going to give Mike a chance to correct and fill in any gaps if I get any of this wrong. Um, Started his real estate career in 2000. Was not only the rookie of the year for the firm that he started with, but did the most amount of production of any rookie ever for that organization. Then moved down in 2008 to co-found a team called the Easy Sales Team. That later transitioned to the Easy Referral Network, which is what it is today.
Right.
And the Easy Referral Network in 2024, I'm going to say this slow because when you first hear it, you're going to go, Matt just misspoke. And I am not misspeaking. In 2024, the Easy Referral Network did 1,106 transactions for a total of $350 million. That would make their team number one in Ohio. And I believe they've been number one for almost 10 years straight now for their association. They're ranked in the top 20 teams amongst all brokerages in the entire United States. So that is the gentleman that we get to hang out with for the next 55 minutes, hear his story, pick his brain. So we're about to go on a really fun ride. So Mike, first of all, what part of your introduction did I get wrong and or miss highlighting?
No, you got it all right. There's some interesting things in there, like when you talked about my being the rookie of the year. I did that because when I first started in real estate, I called every divorce attorney in Cuyahoga County, Ohio, because a
Okay.
divorce is 3 units if you play your cards right, the sell and two buys.
So smart.
And
So
60% of my business was divorcing clients that year. And I wound up teaching a class on how to sell real estate in the domestic relations environment. And I think that one of the interesting things is that I came from an industry that really, as you perfect your craft, you become more successful in your business. That's what attorneys do. They perfect their craft. They're one little part of the law that they know, and they know it better than everybody else. And so I thought that when I came to real estate, that was the most important thing I could possibly do, is perfect my craft. And now I regularly say the best lead generation is being a great real estate practitioner.
amen.
If you're a great real estate practitioner, and we're going to talk about negotiations later in the hour, if you have the ability to affect people's pocketbooks in a positive way, what are the chances they're not going to, at the next cocktail party, say, oh my God, my realtor negotiated this great contract and I got a deal on this house. Or I was up against 12 people, but my realtor got the deal. And you're just going to make more business. In my opinion, that is the greatest lead generation in the long run, being an expert realtor.
So I love that message because at the end of the day, regardless, you compared it to being an attorney, but end of the day, regardless of what trade you're in, right? We're all in the lead generation business because if we don't have clients to provide our service to, then we don't have a business. Yet at the end of the day, we have to learn how to do the lead generation, but really we have to learn how to be the best at what we do. And when we're the best at
Then
what
you
we
get a
do,
reputation, and then people call you. I've had many clients who have referred me over 10 deals.
Love
in
that.
my lifetime because they feel comfortable referring their family and friends.
Yeah, and if I remember from your bio, across your entire career, which started in 2000,
Mhm.
you've done over 3 billion in real estate sales.
Yes, the earlier this year, with our team, obviously, I didn't do 3
Sure.
billion myself, but through the team, we hit $3 billion of real estate this year.
Awesome.
Yes,
All right, so let's dig into a couple of these little pieces of your story here.
sure.
So you already gave us a little bit. I was definitely going to ask you, first year in the business, what did you do in order to be able to close the amount of business that you
Well,
closed?
can I add? Can I add to that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Part of my business, I know people don't like them. I did open houses. Where, as a new agent, are you going to sit around and anywhere from 1 to 6 people are going to walk through who want to buy a house?
Mhm.
And there's a whole open house strategy to when you're at an open house. My strategy was always to give the impression that I was the local expert,
Okay.
which meant before you go in an open house, you actually know all the other houses on the market. And
Mhm.
you walk in and I would always say, before you walk through, the owner requests that you sign in. I'm not requesting, the owner's requesting. Most
Super
people,
smart.
most people will do that. And I say, take a walk through the house. I'd really love some feedback. And I always have them give me feedback. And a lot of times they'd say, we're really looking for a 4 bedroom. And if off the top of my head, because I studied everything on the market, I could say, well, did you see that house on Main Street? It's about the same price, 4 bedroom. I can show that to you. I have it on my computer. I have the search on my computer. Do you want to see it right now? You
Mhm.
walk that person over to your computer to look at the listing. You're halfway to being the realtor.
Yeah. So here's what I love about that. I was just having a conversation with one of my own agents about open houses, because she has been struggling to convert,
Mhm.
right? So she started to say, I think open houses is just not my thing. It just doesn't work for me, right? So we got into this conversation. Well, is it possible that it is your thing? We just need to look at how you're doing it and be a little bit more intentional about the steps of the process, right?
Mhm.
What you just did, those two little tiny things,
Well, and
pretty big
here's
deal.
the thing. So, because if I didn't have something to do on Sunday, I did an open house. So apparently, I was boring that year, and I did 44 open houses.
Love it.
Now, I sold 13 homes from 44 open houses. That meant that on 31 open houses, I got nothing.
Mhm.
It also meant that I sold 13 homes. Now, in Cleveland prices, the today prices, those would have been about $300,000. So that was another $4 million of business. So when you added the amount of time I did those open houses into the amount of time I serviced those 13 clients, I still had a pretty good hourly rate, even though 31 of those I was doing other work at the open house because no one showed or wasn't successful.
So I'm a little Rain Man-esque. Uh,
Mhm.
that sounds like rough math is about $1,000 an hour.
It is normally I set that out on a course that I teach and it's about 850.
Okay, I was close. Yeah. All right. Yeah. That's a pretty damn good hourly rate.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's correct. But you can get discouraged because in those 31 open houses, nothing happened that was going to produce money. But you
Yeah.
don't know which ones are and which ones aren't.
Yeah.
And so you can't look at it. Oh, I didn't get anything from 2 open houses. They suck. You just can't say that.
Yeah. Yeah. So early days, we focused on, we called every divorce attorney in the area.
Yes.
Idea behind that is played correctly. There's up to 3 transactions per client there.
Right. I tried in the beginning to spend my time lead generating with people who could give me more than one deal. The divorce attorneys, and I know that I had in because I have my law degree. Divorce
Mhm.
attorneys, probate attorneys, bankruptcy attorneys, financial planners, and the lady that cuts your hair. Because the lady that cuts your hair knows when houses are selling before spouses do.
Mm.
And the lady that cuts my hair, not even sure I like how she does it.
It took a minute for that one to land with. They know before spouses do. I like that.
If she hears the word real estate in her salon, She takes my card out of her drawer, runs it over, and then somehow if I get a referral there, she gets a $300 tip the next time we come around.
There you go. Love it. You know, it's funny. I think back to Bold, and I don't know that they still do it, but they used to do a referral contest. And there was a conversation that went along with it where people would make phone calls and say, hey, I wonder if you could help me. And that was the key to the conversation is people want to help other people. And then they would say, I'm part of a contest to see who can generate the most real estate referrals in X period of time. The person that I remember who got the most amount of referrals, they called their hairdresser. And their hairdresser, I think I'm remembering this correctly, gave them 6 names.
Wow.
Of people who had
told
them that they were going to be selling a home. Yeah.
Right.
Love it. So,
but the other thing I did my first year is I went to every class I possibly could to learn my craft.
There you go. Love it. Okay. So we focused on who can give us multiple transactions. You just gave us a phenomenal list of who those who's are. Open houses and being really purposeful to present yourself as the market expert at that open house. Even little tiny strategies that I don't want you guys to miss, like the homeowner request that everybody sign in. That's a different kind of question, a different
two questions you should never ask an open house. 1, are you working with a realtor? You can find that out later. The answer will be yes. I once did this for 25 people just to see. I said, are you working with a realtor? 25 people said yes. When I asked who the realtor was, only 14 of them knew who it was.
So 9 were lying.
Lying, correct. So don't ask the question. You can ask that later. You don't need to know. Secondly, never ask how long you've been looking. It's an irrelevant question. And people say, I just started, because that's the blow-off call. I just started, so get off my back, is what they're saying to you. So don't ever ask those 2 questions. Anyway.
All right. I hope everyone's taking notes because we already have some good nuggets and we haven't even gotten out of his first year in real estate. Okay. All right. So before we go away, because I feel like we are just on a vein of gold here, anything else from your first year or 2 in the business that you want to share before we start to move towards your career developing?
No, in the first couple of years, I realized someone once said, in the beginning, you exchange time for money. And later on, you exchange money for time. In the beginning, you just have to work a lot of hours. And you just have to be dedicated to it. And you can't be a silent realtor. So I have a partner, not a wife. I have a partner, David, and we'll be at a grocery store and he'll say, the cashier does not need to know you're a realtor. And I say, oh, but she does. So when I started, I was addicted to Diet Coke. And I went to this deli every day, every morning, and bought 2 Diet Cokes. And at the time, the $10 an hour clerk was not buying a house. But she knew I was a realtor. We talked real estate all the time. She happened to start dating a guy who bought a $400,000 house for me. And then he said, Mike, I want to buy some investment properties. And he's bought 8 doubles from me.
Oh my gosh.
All because I was nice to the $10 an hour clerk. I'm not saying anything negative about her. She was a really nice lady. She knew I was a realtor. I wasn't a silent realtor.
Yeah. So just for fun, because you've been doing this for a little bit and you've done a lot of transactions. So knowing that you're that person who always makes sure,
yes,
if I interact with you, I'm going to know what you do for a living. What is the most interesting or funniest place where you made it known that you were a realtor and managed to get business out of it?
Okay. So I'm a 65-year-old guy with a family who has heart problems.
Okay.
And I had to get a stent put in my heart. And what people don't know is when they put a stent in your heart, you don't go under. You're awake through the process.
Oof.
I know it's scary the first time. The second time it isn't, but you're awake through the process.
Okay.
So I belong to Home for Heroes. Gives grants out to police, firemen, medical professionals, teachers, etc. And I'm laying on this table and I realize there's 3 nurses and 2 doctors and me in a room. So I'm laying there and I said, "Oh my God, you're all medical professionals. You know, I have this program called Homes for Heroes." I'm laying on the operating table and I'm telling them about Homes for Heroes. And at the end, the last nurse there that was cleaning me up, and I said, "Was I a bit much?" And she said, "One of the doctors on the way out said, I wish I could have put that guy out."
That's outstanding.
But the end result is one of the other nurses called me 8 months later and I listed her $400,000 condo.
Oh, I love it. So
So yes,
you never know.
you just never know.
Just never know.
Yeah.
It's outstanding.
Sometimes at home I get eyes rolling. Really, you didn't really do that, did you? Yeah. Yes, I did.
Yes, I do.
I did the
And it didn't
same.
hurt anybody.
Love it.
I did the same thing when I had Dupuytren's contracture
Uh-huh.
uh, repaired, and a year later I'm in for my left hand, and the anesthesiologist, I go into, how much investment property do you have? And the anesthesiologist goes, "Oh yeah, that was you last year."
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
just don't be a silent realtor.
There you
It's given me a lot of business over the years, for sure.
Love it. All right, so let's transition because I want to get your whole story out. I want to try to get as many nuggets out of it as I can. I also do want to leave some space to kind of lean into, your real strength. So talk to us about that transition. I believe it was 2008, if I remember from your bio.
Yes.
You launched the first version of your team. So
Yeah.
talk to us about that.
It was very interesting. So I was working in a large regional firm, and in 2004, I met a guy, Greg Erlinger. He was a new agent, and he was as aggressive as probably I was in terms of building his business quick. And the regional firm, I won't go into the long story, but they screwed us the same way. They just did some things that just weren't very good. And someone walked into his open house and tried to recruit him from Keller Williams. And he came in and said, "Mike, I'm looking at this. Why shouldn't we go?" And we decided to go. And we were both decent big producers. So one of the things they said, "If you come, we'll bring you to family reunion." This was on January of 2008. They'll say, we'll bring you to family reunion. And we learned two things that weekend. One, my partner, Greg Erlinger, and I should never share a hotel room because that was not a good experience. But two, we went to this breakout session and Russell Rhodes was talking. He was the number one agent in 2008 at Keller Williams. And he said, if you're going to start a team, lock yourself in a room and make a list of everything you hate and you're not good at. And then read that list and realize you're not going to like it and you're not going to get much better at it. So you're either going to have to hire it or partner up with it. And Greg and I left that. I'm the old real estate practitioner guy.
Mm-hmm.
My partner, Greg, is like the media coach for Glover U. He's all about marketing and media and growth and all of that. And when we put our talents together and formed the Easy Sales team, we had an unfair advantage in the marketplace because we were willing to partner with someone who had the other strengths.
Yeah, that makes sense. So you were really the kind of the craftsman, if you will.
Right. And so EZ stands for Erlanger and Zenicola. That's just our initials. Because we don't believe, or I don't believe, that I should ever be the Zenicola team. And the reason for that is if I'm the Zenicola team, everyone on my team should tattoo the word second string on their forehead. Mm-hmm. Because for the same amount of money, you can get Zenicola. Why would you get one of my team members? And I wanted to create a team in which they elevated. So we left that breakout session. We sat in the hotel bar for about 5 hours and talked about what a team
Isn't it amazing what can happen at a hotel bar?
Yes.
Yeah. Change your world.
Yes. There were, very important napkins.
Yep.
At the end of that. And we talked about it, and I said, Greg, let's build a team that we'd be willing to be on. Even as big realtors, let's build a team that would be willing to be on. Because if we establish a team in which our team succeeds beyond their wildest dreams, beyond their dreams. We succeed beyond our wildest dreams. And that's what we've created. We've created a place where I have people, we have a board out front here. And once you're here 5 years, you get your picture on the board. And I have people here from 2008, 9, and 10 who have never left, even though they're $10 million producers, because we're given a value to them that they can leave.
So you just gave me a perfect bridge because I want to peel that onion. There are, obviously teams are just like everything else. You have really successful and stable teams. And then you have some teams that, struggle and recycle people and all the things.
Right.
Tell us, what does your team look like today and what is your value proposition? What keeps somebody from 2008 who's doing 10, 12 million on the easy team?
Okay. First off, Gary Keller's not listening, is he?
No.
Okay. We don't use the MRA commission splits.
Okay.
Sometimes those work.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a team in which you're just handing out every single lead to your client, to your agents, and doing everything, and all you're doing is setting up showings and going there, and then someone else takes the contract to close stuff and everything, those commission splits work.
Yeah.
But so what I say is you need to lock yourself in a room and figure out your value prop, and then offer a commission split that's commensurate with what that is. So on our team, you obviously have all the administrative support, contract to close, administrative support. No one's going to your inspection. No one's going to your closings. You're doing that because if you have someone else go to those things, you're eliminating the ability to get referrals from those people.
Yeah.
Oh, once you wrote the contract, then you hand me to somebody else.
Yeah, you're losing your touch points.
Correct. That doesn't make any sense to us at all. We have listing coordinator. We have what's called Easy Media, which we have W-2 employees who actually do all of our marketing, our photography, 3D, drone, video. And because they're W-2 employees, we can offer it at a crazy amount. So you can get let's say a 3D. It costs $120. Greg and I split that with you. So for $60, you get a 3D on your house. Or we pay for the photography. A drone would cost $75. A video costs $175. Well, no one else can get it done for that cheap.
Mm-hmm.
But because they're W-2 employees, we're able to do that. We're huge on education. That's obviously my big thing. We have classes constantly. We have a culture we have both small little group events, large group events, and that culture is so important to keep everyone excited about being with one another. COVID really did wreak havoc on people coming in the office, and I'm still sad about that.
Sure did.
We still do have people coming in. And plus, when you're on our team, you get a listing presentation from the #1 team in the state of Ohio.
Yeah.
And everything's provided. So our listing book, let me hold on for a second.
Sure. This is going to be good. It's going to give us the real deal.
It's not that exciting.
Get ready.
No. So, when you go to, a lot of people go on a listing, they bring a floppy folder, right? We bring a 3-ring binder with about 120 pages of stuff that's pre-done for you. So all you do is you add your comps and you add your CMA and you're on your way. And if you're up against 3 other people, there are going to be 3 floppy folders in this 3-ring binder that's left.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a way to say we do things more professional.
Yeah.
And that's all completed for you. So the concept is we do everything except the client contact. And we have lead sources, and Greg has websites like My Cleveland Condo, My Columbus Condo, where it generates leads. We do not do Zillow. We don't do a lot of lead purchase. And I'm able to tell my agents, if you're coming here for leads, find another team. Leads are an appetizer. They're not your full meal.
Love
I
that.
want agents who want to be realtors,
Yeah.
and I don't actually want those agents.
Yeah, it's funny. We had last week's episode, we had a mega agent on who actually built his entire career in my market center, is still here today. And we were talking about that evolution of just watching teams being built in their early days and the early mistake of using leads as bait.
Yes.
Agents who got to a point, they have more leads than they can handle. They look up, there's a new agent in the office who seems promising. Hey, I got more leads than I can handle. You want to come work with me on my team? My team.
Right.
And then fast forward, I watched team after team after team, they would hit the 1 year mark. And the new agent who joined the team would do well. But then the team lead would go to them and say, do you know humans? Because you closed X amount of transactions and X amount of those 100% were leads that I handed you. Like, where are the humans that you know outside? And then it would become a friction point.
Correct.
You would see them go in opposite directions.
Right.
The wrong expectation was set.
We come to our team and we're going to help you become a tremendous realtor.
Mhm.
And then, and this is another thing Gary will yells at me for every once in a while.
I mean,
We cap you can cap on our team, like you cap in the office.
mhm.
After a certain number, you're at certain percentage, then the next 2 million, you're at the next percentage, next 2 million, next percentage, and you can get to 100% and pay us $250 a deal at the end. And we're totally fine with that because that allows our $10 million producer to stay with us.
I was going to say that philosophy must have came from the defining question that you started with. What does it look like to build a team that we would join?
Correct.
Yep.
That's right. That's right. And you got to be careful in the beginning. That makes it tougher. But as you grow bigger, I don't have the turnover big teams have.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. That stability.
I just don't have that.
Yeah. That stability is valuable. Super.
Right. Right. And then what happened was we got to about 25 agents.
Okay.
And I told Greg one day, we can't grow anymore. And you remember, he's the growth guy. So his head spun around and smoke came out of his ears. And what are you talking about? And I said, we can't, I was the one who handled all the real estate questions and growth stuff. And I said, I couldn't do that. So what we did was we put a coaching system in place where agents on my team can become coaches for other newer agents on the team.
Yeah,
and that allows us to expand infinitely, to be honest with you, because people are still getting the individual coaching that they need while they grow.
So you created leverage and opportunity at the same time.
Correct.
Leverage for you, opportunity for other people.
Correct. It allows us to bring more people on the team. It allows people who've been on the team who want to do that. And it's not our biggest producers. Biggest producers don't have the time to do it.
Yeah.
Our $4 to $7 million producers who are good practitioners love that they can be coaches on our team.
And
now,
is that what transitioned you? I have to assume there was a reason you went through a rebrand.
No.
Okay. So talk to us about that. What led to the rebrand?
Gary Keller's idea of expansion.
Okay.
So we were in Cleveland, Ohio, and we were going to have the Easy Sales Team Westlake, Ohio, the Easy Sales Team Strongsville, Ohio, the Easy Sales Team Columbus, Ohio, et cetera, Cincinnati. And the state of Ohio came to us and said, no, you can't be the Easy Sales Team in 7 different brokerages. You have to have a different name for each. So we renamed each expansion office, like one's the Preferred Ohio Sales Team, one's the Select Ohio Sales Team, one's the Capital Ohio Sales Team, all a part of the Easy Referral Network. And in all honesty, the director of real estate was uncomfortable with expansion teams.
Yeah.
But when I called it a referral network, literally, I said that to her face because we were having a Zoom call on it because she didn't like expansion teams. When I said it was the Easy Referral Network, she took the word referral and her eyes relaxed. And
Isn't that funny?
yes.
Yeah.
So we became the Easy Referral Network, which is the 7 expansion teams that all make up our team in different brokerages.
Got it. And are they all still within Ohio, or have you crossed state
We have
line?
one in Pittsburgh.
One in Pittsburgh.
One in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's actually closer to us than Columbus is.
So for the most part, you have stayed fairly local, right? Because you do see expansions. They'll go from New England to Florida to
Yeah.
West.
And Greg and I mean, we understand people do that. We don't know how that works because we actually visit our expansion offices. Greg and I are not necessarily level 7. We're a level 6.25.
Still a pretty good level.
Right. But
Mhm.
but we're involved. The people in our Cincinnati office know us and see us. Not every day, but
Sure.
we go down and it makes your offices feel connected, and it's just worked for us. Now, some people would argue that limited us, and maybe it has. But we still sold 1,000 houses, so we're okay.
Yeah, I think you're doing just fine. And I think there's a very intelligent argument to maximizing your market share in one area and then just going to the very next. I mean, it's reasonable to believe that your ability to capture new market share in a territory that is adjacent to where
Correct.
you already have market share is going to be easier.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So now we're the Easy Referral Network. Technically, our Westlake office is still the Easy Sales Team. That's our hub.
Yeah.
And
Awesome.
that's where we're at. And that's the majority. 50% of our business comes from our hub.
Got it. Okay. So I want to transition a little and lean into kind of your superpower.
Okay.
So I know you and I talked a little bit, and I've actually heard you speak in other places as well. You really took your 17 years negotiating contracts and leaned hard into that when you transitioned over as a realtor. And I believe, that is one of your significant value propositions for your clients is your mastery of negotiation. Is that a fair statement?
That's probably, everyone has something that sets them a little bit apart, and that's probably mine. The negotiations. Just you worked for a real estate investment trust for 4 years, and I was in their acquisition department, and I used to go in and help them offer $31 million on a $36 million property. And when you're taking $5 million off, you have to justify your offer. And I found when I came into residential real estate that nobody justified their offer. You just submitted your offer. And many people justified the offer by sending love letters, which are laughable. And so I took what I used to do in the commercial world and I brought it to the residential world. So Matt, the name of the class I teach is Negotiations. The nicest and most prepared agent wins.
Love that.
And let me tell you the initial reason for that name. Ours is the only industry that relies on its competitors to make a living.
Yeah, it's very unique.
And if you go to the BMW dealer and look at the 5 Series and you don't like it, the BMW salesperson does not drive you to the Mercedes dealership to look at the E-Class. But we do that. And so we have to be careful in everything we do that we don't get that reputation, because we need our competitors. Because everybody on this call can close their eyes and think of the 5 to 10 names in Hartford, Connecticut, where if they show your property, you're really hoping their buyer hates it. Because you just don't want to deal with them. Does everyone have those names?
I know I do.
Yes. And that affects your ability to negotiate down the road. Can I tell you a quick story?
Yeah.
I had $2.5 million listing, which in Cleveland is pretty big house, for sale. And some guy came and he came, he hated the house. I said, well, I can show you other things. And he said, no, I only go to the listing agent. So I said, okay. So, but because I have a good reputation of closing deals, I had a friend of mine from Remax call me and said, I'm getting this lakefront listing. It's $1,750,000. You have anybody? I said, well, I might. Can I be the first person in? For you, Mike, anything. So I called this guy and said, if you want to be the first person in, you have to come through me. You can't go through the listing agent. He said, all right, I'll go. So we write the offer. We offered a full price cash offer because we knew it'd probably sell pretty quick. I get a call later that night and from the agent, and she said, Mike, I got another offer and I'm authorized by my seller to tell you it's $1.8 million cash. And I told my seller, because this was from an agent that all you people had in your mind when you thought about the people you hate. It's from blah, blah. I won't mention the name. It's from blah, blah. And I told my client, if we can get Mike's client up to $1.8 million, it'll be a much smoother transaction. So can your guy get up to $1.8 million? Which I said, of course. So I made $1.8 million, a commission on $1.8 million, 40-some thousand bucks.
You had a strong relationship.
Because of the relationship that I have. Because I'm not the idiot negotiator who slams the books down and say, we're out of here. Well, all the stuff that you think a hard-nosed negotiator would do. No, what I do when I negotiate is, first of all, if it's my listing and someone's writing an offer, I'll just nonchalantly ask, what they like about it. Why are they excited about it? I'd love to hear why. Well, I'm going to put that in my letter later on in my negotiations. So I get an offer. Sometimes I don't have to do this all the time. Sometimes a great offer, you just take it. But
Sure.
let me give you an example. I had a deal where it was a $625,000 house, which again in Cleveland is actually a more expensive home. I know Connecticut's different price points. $625,000 house, and it wasn't in a heavy seller's market, and they offered me $550,000. My seller was offended. Said, no, I'm not even countering. I said, well, let's say they offered us $600,000. What would you counter at? Well, maybe I'd counter at $620,000. Okay. I said, how about if you give me the opportunity to counter at $620,000? She said, okay. It was my job then to explain to the buyer why it's in the buyer's best interests to pay $620,000. That's your job when you're negotiating. It's not to win points and say, look how powerful I am. It's to convince the other side that what you're saying is good for them.
Makes sense. And is a win. Yeah.
Right. So I said, we're so thrilled you want to live in this house. We know your agent told me you're moving. Actually, they're moving from Connecticut. You're moving from Connecticut, and you had a stream in your backyard, just like the stream that flows through this backyard. Unfortunately, we aren't able to sell it to you for $550,000. And let me tell you why. Here are the comps. Here is why we believe that our price is right. And then I went through that, and I said, and they had asked for a home warranty that we weren't offering. So I said, and you know what? My client has decided to give you a home warranty. And they asked for the washer and dryer that wasn't staying, the $500 washer and dryer. My client decided to give you that. If you're going to lowball somebody, don't ask for extra stuff, because that gives me the ability to give it to you and look like I'm the reasonable guy.
Mm-hmm.
It's stupid on the part of the buyer.
You're giving me extra chips to play with.
That's right. That's right. So, so we really hope that you consider our offer. We really want to sell the house to you. We think it would be a great place for your family. Blah 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 blah. They came back at $575. We came back down to $615, and they bought it for $615. They wanted the house.
Yeah.
And I showed them why I made them comfortable with the comps. I knew they were looking for something. They were moving from out of town. They wanted this house.
Yeah. Well, there's something else you did too, is you helped your seller take the emotion out of the transaction.
Yes.
Right? Because that initial reaction to that low ball offer is, well, I'm not even going to counter because that's offensive,
Correct.
right? So then the
Yes. And
transaction
I said,
dead
well,
in the
yeah, let's
water,
say they
dead in
offered
the,
6. What would you do?
yeah, which is a great response to that. Because
Right.
you're shifting the conversation to be able to remove the thing that offended them,
Right.
yet still be able to move the conversation forward.
So I usually tell that story because there's an end to this story that I think is funny. This was a dentist who moved into Cleveland, and they decided to move back out to the East Coast. He calls me 10 years later, and he says to me, "Hey, Mike, you may not remember me. I'm Dr. So-and-so. I bought the house in Evergreen. When I bought this house, the seller had a much better realtor. And so we want you to, can you come and list your house? We don't want you on the other side."
Oh, that's funny.
So I got the deal back because he recognized that his realtor didn't know what to do.
Sure.
And when you're the first person to write the offer letter, you put the other side on the defensive. You're on the offense. Even if you do it nice and polite, like I do, you're still they have to defend their position now. And it becomes harder. Be the first person to write the letter. And I'm not talking about, you might have a sentence in there about if you're representing the buyer, for instance, if I'm writing it for a buyer, the buyer is a really nice couple. You know, they have 2 kids. They're moving in from Connecticut, blah, 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 blah. But don't write that smushy love letter. Because quite frankly, if you wrote that to me, I would use that against you.
So let's get into some bullets. So when you're coaching your own team, what are some of the key negotiation rules or strategies that you teach to your team? Kind of like the golden rules, if those exist.
The first thing you do is take your client's position and say, how can I make this as appealable as possible to the other side? It's not about shoving anything down your throat. And then I need to take every aspect of the deal. And if I'm trying to get money off, or I'm trying to get them to pay a lot more money, it has to be about the money. You need to give in on some, unless the terms are something you can't mess around with. If you make a choice, if it's about terms, it's about terms. Then it's not going to be necessarily about money. You got to give in on something.
So the way, and this is from Gary. Years ago, I heard Gary say, "You can name the price as long as I name the terms."
Right.
Or I can name the price and you can name the term.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. So if you're trying to get money off a property, don't ask for the washer and dryer that's not included, or don't ask if the listing agent needs their title company, give in. If there's a home warranty, like if you're a seller and you're trying to get them to come up on price, throw in, please allow me to give you $1,000 worth of crap so that I can get my price on this deal.
Yeah. So pick one or the other.
You have to determine what your seller is looking for or what your buyer is looking for. And be honest with them.
Can I go off there? Well, there is no script, so I guess we've been off script the whole time. I want to throw something at you and see what your thought and opinion is on this.
Okay.
On the seller side, it is my belief that we do it completely backwards. So when we're selling homes, we market the price, then we allow people to submit offers with no information other than the price that we want. And then they throw whatever price at us, above, at, below, and then whatever terms. And then we go back and forth negotiating a bunch of different numbers and a bunch of different terms in this market with a bunch of different people. My belief is, why do we not just ask the seller, if you could wave a magic wand, what does your perfect offer look like? Let's assume price is taken care of. We know that's important, but outside of price,
Mhm.
What does a perfect offer look like for you? What's the closing date? What are the terms? What do you want to stay, go? And why do we not just present that to everybody who is interested in the property? This is what a perfect offer would look like for my seller. The more of these things that are included in your offer, the stronger your offer is going to be.
In a seller's
You
market,
being a negotiating guy, I'd love your take.
in a seller's market, that's a great thing to do. In a buyer's market, nobody cares.
Buyer's market, yeah, you don't have as much leverage for sure.
Right, right. But you do need to know those things.
Mhm.
I mean, I talk about that in my listing presentation or when we get to the point of actually signing. You do need to talk about that up front. What does a success look like to you?
Mhm.
You actually need to do that for a buyer as well. But if you do that, you know, one of the things I ask buyers is how will you judge my success? How will you judge me as a realtor? And 90 to 95% of people, when I ask that, say how much money you get off the list price. And then I give them an example of why that's a bad way to judge it.
Mhm.
Because list prices are arbitrary. Someone could overprice their home or underprice their home, and to judge it on that arbitrary number doesn't make any sense. And I give them an example of 3 equal homes, and I show them that that really doesn't work very well, because I want to get people off that idea of price. After I show them this example that I do, and by the way, I have notes on my class. I could send them to you, and you can distribute them if you want.
That would be amazing.
It has this example inside.
I think they would love that.
I'll send that to you after we're done.
All right. So number one, first nugget you brought up is it's either terms or price. Pick one. Don't negotiate them both.
Yeah. I mean, you can try, but know that you're going to give in on one.
Yeah.
Yes. Secondly, know who you're talking to. Find out as much as you can about them. I always have a lot of examples, so I'm sorry.
No, it's good.
I had a friend of mine, he's an accountant, real numbers geek. He was looking at a home. The homes were worth $750. That's what they were worth. It was listed for $795. We were in multiple offers. He was a cash buyer. He said, Mike, I'm not spending more than $750. I really want this house. Get it for me. It was an estate run by the bank. The banker was the seller. He was signing the documents. So I went to the banker and I basically said, hey, we're putting $750 on the table. I sent a nice letter, but basically I said, we're putting $750 on the table. You might get more, but they better be cash, because otherwise you're going to have a problem. Well, no banker wants to have a problem. He just wants to go home to his wife and kids at night and not have any issues.
Mm-hmm.
And so my guy bought that for $750, and the other agent told me there was a $772 and a $775 offer on the table.
Yeah. What's funny too, and this parlays with that is, so I had shared with you when we were chatting before we went live here that I used to buy and rehab and resell homes. And that whole business was essentially predicated on giving people the terms they wanted. Right. So going back to what you were talking about,
Sure.
I went in as an investor, which meant I had a price. This is a price that I can pay for a house where mathematically it makes sense.
Right.
It's math. But for them, the only way they were ever going to sell me their home was if I could provide them with the terms that made it easier for them.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So the conversation was always about how do I make this easier for you? Because that was the win-win. The win-win was, all right, this is a property that, has whatever challenges or issues. There was always either a human challenge or a real estate challenge. Otherwise, you weren't buying the house, because otherwise they would have sold it traditionally. Right. So it was identifying that, and then how do you solve their challenge, their issue, make it easier. And that's how I used to have other investors often. Once something would close, they'd call me, because it's kind of a small world, and they'd go, hey, I just saw that you got such and such address. Yeah. I offered 15 grand more than you or 10 grand more than you. I'd say, well, clearly you didn't figure out what they actually needed.
Right.
because it wasn't the money, it was some other thing that you were able to solve for them.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. So you really need to know your audience. And that's key. So getting feedback to me is great. Like in that one, I got to talk about the stream behind that house.
Mhm.
Well, if I didn't ask for feedback, I wouldn't have known that that was a big deal.
Wouldn't have known to bring that back into the conversation.
That's right. The other thing is when I send you these, in my notes, I took notes as if I was sitting in the class. So these are real notes I have 3 letters that I've done. Two were from representing the seller, one was from representing the buyer. And like I have on my computer, I have like 30 paragraphs on various topics. Like I have a paragraph on inspections. Yes, my buyer's asking for an inspection. An inspection is for the benefit of both the buyer and the seller, because once you have the inspection, there are no post-closing inspection issues that we're going to have to deal with. There have been over 50 lawsuits filed in Cuyahoga County, Ohio, where people took it with no inspection, but then said it should have been on it's called the residential property disclosure.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to eliminate that by having the inspection, making my inspection seem not only good for Mike, for the seller, but for the buyer, but for the seller as well. And I have and then I say, we're not going to give you a laundry list. The inspection is for operational, structural, mechanical, health and safety issues, significant ones. So I make it as easy as possible because I'm not having my client buy a house without an inspection.
Yeah. So that's fascinating. And you've done that through this, and because I have to
Through
assume
COVID.
you went through what most of the country went through, multiple
Yes.
offers, everybody waiving every contingency on the planet.
Yes.
You
But
never did that.
But I would say nobody will tell you the lawsuits that are happening.
Oh, for sure.
This will protect you, Mr. Seller, if I have an inspection.
Mhm.
That way my buyer knows what they're buying.
So smart. So smart.
And because I just I was never ever comfortable with that.
Yeah. So we're at 11:55. I do want to make sure that we have time for some Q&A. So
Sure.
I want to open it up now. If you've got a question, you can either unmute or just put up your physical hand, digital hand. I've got my lightning round questions, but before I go there, I just want to make sure if there's anything from the group, we answer those. Michael, what do you got?
Okay, you went to the bank and said it's 750. It's cash, and if somebody else is higher, you're going to have a problem. What did you mean by that?
I said if you're going to have, I was more detailed in my letter, of course. I
Okay.
meant in the event you have anything over 750, you're not going to get that appraisal. It's not worth more than 750. And what's
Okay, now I know.
What's
Okay.
going to happen when it doesn't
Now I
appraise?
get
You
it.
have a problem.
Yeah.
Awesome. What else? Any other questions before I do our lightning round? Going once, going twice. All right, we're gonna do the lightning round. You ready, Mike?
I am. I'm not sure I'll have all the answers, but let's do it.
All right. So I think I'm gonna answer number one for you because I think we know what that is. So my first lightning round question is always, what do you believe your superpower is in this business?
Well, it's negotiations, but it's negotiations done professionally.
Love that. Number two, what are your top 3 lead sources right now?
Okay. My top 3 lead sources are apparently women over 60.
Okay.
For some reason, they like my gray hair and they all need ranches. They're all selling colonials.
Beautiful.
No, in all honesty, my personal thing is sphere of influence, and sphere of influence. Because I have spent a lifetime branding myself as the professional agent who knows what he's doing. That's what it is. I actually do a regular in Cleveland, Ohio. The most expensive houses are Lake Erie lakefronts.
Yep.
And I do a bi-monthly what's sold on the lake. And so that's actually one little niche area that there's probably 400 homes that I regularly market to. And it's just really, it's a postcard, and people like the postcards. Old people like postcards.
Yeah.
Like,
And it's funny, I think, is it fair to say your top three lead sources are SOI, SOI, and SOI
yes,
because you have made everybody a part of your SOI?
correct. That's right. That's right. Because, for instance, I own a property on the beach in Naples, Florida, and I get postcards from realtors all the time. I read every one because they tell me what my neighbor sold for.
Mhm.
And so there's a certain one that I would use who sends me one monthly.
Monthly. Yeah.
Anyway,
Okay. Number three, what are you either reading or listening to right now, i.e., books or podcast?
okay. My answer to this is going to disappoint you.
That's okay.
I neither read any more books on the subjects
Okay.
nor listen to podcasts.
Got it.
I wish I had a better answer for that, but I would
You're saving that space in your brain for other
Can I think there is one book that I
Okay.
really like. It's called The Spirit of Philanthropy.
philanthropy. Yep.
And about 5 years ago, I'm a member of the Keller Williams Rainbow Network.
Mm-hmm.
And I was at family reunion function, and I said, you know what? I would love if all of us could give back to the community. And I started a nonprofit called the LGBT Housing Initiative. And we raise money. When someone sells a house, they give me 25 to $100 a house. We've generated $500,000, and we donate to organizations around the country they're grassroots organizations whose mission is to elevate LGBTQ homeless youth off the street, because LGBTQ homeless youth represent 40% of all homeless youth. And it's because in today's day and age, people still kick their kids out of their home when they find out that Tammy has a girlfriend.
Sure.
And in all honesty, when I'm 85, I'm going to be more proud of that than what I did in real estate.
I love that. That answer was by no stretch disappointing. That was an outstanding answer. All right, my last one. This one's a little goofy. Spaceship shows up, hovers overhead, sucks you into the spaceship, takes off with you.
Okay.
Drops you off in a land you've never seen. You don't recognize it. You know nobody. So you are in a place where you don't understand the area. You know no people. You have no resources other than all of your experience and knowledge. What do you do day one to start building your business?
What I do day one is I spend as much time as I need to learn that market. Learn it in terms of comps. I'd spend hours in the MLS trying to figure out what sells for what. I drive around neighborhoods. I would get to know as much as I could. I'd go to the greater Missoula, Montana group that talks about their areas. I learn everything I can. And then again, I would never be a silent agent. Every cashier would know I'm a realtor. Anybody I speak to, that would come out in a conversation. And then I would figure out what marketing I could do. I'd try to find a niche. And it might be old people, just because my gray hair attracts them. And I would figure out how to do some marketing to that, because if you did just some general marketing, whether it's online, whether it's social media, or whether it's in mailing, 90% of the people don't know you just got into Missoula.
Hmm.
They
Yeah.
see you advertising. You know how when I first started, there's a city on the lake called Lakewood, Ohio. And you know how I became an expert in Lakewood, Ohio? I said I was.
I
Do
love
you,
it.
do you need more than that?
Yeah.
I'm the Lakewood, Ohio expert.
Mhm.
And I would do open houses there. and I would try to find clients there. And it got to the point within a year, people were saying, Mike, I'm having a broker's tour. I'd really like your opinion. And I thought to myself, why? I'm just some guy who said I was the expert in Litecoin.
I just said I was. So I love that. We had a guest 2 weeks ago. She was down in North Carolina, started her career in a place that she didn't live. And she almost did exactly what you said. She started driving all over the place so she could learn the streets, stopped at every business, went in, introduced herself. And she was doing a bunch of open houses. And she said that as she met the business owners, she wanted to come from contributions. So she would ask them, would you be interested in having me feature your business in my buyer consultation packet? And then she kept talking, but I was like, "Wait, can I pause you for a minute? This was what you were doing at the very beginning." And she goes, "Yes." And I said, "Did you have any buyers?" And she goes, "Oh no." She goes, "I didn't have a buyer consultation package because I didn't even have any buyers." But she presented herself as if. Yeah. And
Right.
fast forward, that's exactly what she was. I love that.
Right.
Awesome. Mike, there was so much gold in today.
Thank you.
So huge thank you for your time today. Lots of great nuggets. Oh, my last thing. What is a perfect referral for you, and how does somebody reach you in order to give that to you? And then we will unmute and show you some love.
Just text me. Anything I can service, me and my team can service anything in the state of Ohio and Pittsburgh. But if you ever think of Ohio, if my team doesn't service it, I will personally provide you a great agent in that area.
Perfect. So all of Ohio, and if we're going to text you,
It's
Cassie, get ready to type. What is your cell phone number, sir?
440-465-4444. Isn't that a great realtor?
That is
number?
great. 440-465-4444. Beautiful.
I used to have it on my sign, 444-465-4444 sale.
Love it. All right, everybody, let's unmute and give Mike a big round of applause. Today was awesome. Tons of nuggets. Thank you so much for your time.
I really appreciate spending the time. Thanks for having me. I really enjoyed it.
Thanks again, Mike.
Super. Bye now.